Some people drive toward the end of the world, hoping to find peace. Thomas Baker wasn't sure what he was hoping for. Maybe just a place where the noise inside his head couldn't follow. Echo Valley sounded perfect. A place that swallowed sound, or sent it back twisted. The gas station attendant, an old man with faded blue eyes, had leaned against the counter and muttered, "Ain't seen anyone come back the same from there, sir. If they come back at all." Thomas had forced a chuckle. "Just need to clear my head. Some things, son, best left uncleared," the old man rasped. Those words stuck with him longer than they should have. The road narrowed until the trees pressed in like skeletal hands. Thomas parked, shouldered his bag, and walked. Dry leaves crackled under his boots. There was a smell in the air, like wet earth and something older. "Hello," he called, half joking. His voice bounced back perfectly. He smirked, shaking his head at the superstition, but then, faint, barely there, a whisper that wasn't his. "Daddy!" He froze. The sound had come from deeper in the trees. No, just the wind," he whispered, but his gut twisted painfully, because that voice, fragile, broken, sounded exactly like Jamie. The sun slipped faster than it should have. Thomas set up camp by a dead tree, building a weak fire. As darkness fell, the silence around him felt heavy, oppressive. He stared at the flames, Jamie's face dancing in them. A memory clawed its way back. Jamie in the back seat, tears streaming, screaming, "Please don't leave me, Dad." Rain hammering the windshield. The car spinning, water swallowing the screams. Thomas gripped his head, rocking. "It wasn't my fault. I just couldn't," he sobbed. But the valley heard him, and it disagreed. Liar! Sleep was impossible. Every time his eyes closed, he saw Jamie's face, pale, soaked, reaching. He woke gasping, his heart racing. Morning light was grey and weak. The cliffs looked closer. The air was colder. He tried to pack, but something kept him there. The guilt, or something darker. Thomas stood at the edge and screamed, "What do you want from me?" The echo came back warped. "You know." Tears spilled down his face. "I couldn't save him. I tried. I did." The valley's answer was cold. "No, you watched." Driven by something he didn't understand, Thomas climbed down the narrow, crumbling path. Every rock he touched felt cold, slick, almost breathing. Halfway down, he heard it again. Jamie's laughter. He turned sharply. There, by the water's edge, the shape of a boy. Same red hoodie, same messy hair. "Jamie," his voice cracked. The boy didn't move. Thomas staggered forward. "Please, I'm here now. I won't leave you again." The figure turned, eyes black as coal. "Too late, Dad. I waited. You didn't come." The pool at the valley floor reflected nothing but darkness. Thomas dropped to his knees. "I didn't know how to save you. I was scared. You were screaming, but I froze." Jamie smiled, but it wasn't his son's smile. It was cold, knowing. "I screamed, Dad. You heard me, and you left." The water rippled and Thomas saw it, his son drowning over and over, reaching, begging, and his own reflection, standing still, watching. Thomas screamed until his throat tore, but the valley ate his cries. Hours passed, or days. Thomas couldn't tell anymore. The sky never brightened. The trees seemed to move, to watch. He spoke to the air now. "I'm sorry, Jamie. I'm so damn sorry." The voice came from right behind him this time. "I know, Dad, but sorry doesn't save me." He turned, but there was nothing. only the cold wind curling around him. That night, the dreams came. Not just Jamie, others. Dozens of faces, men, women, children, all pale, all whispering. We waited too. Thomas knew he couldn't leave. He tried, climbed halfway up, but the path was gone. Only jagged cliffs now. His recorder, something he barely remembered pulling from his bag, clicked on by itself. His own voice played back, but wrong. Jamie, don't go. Jamie, help me. Over and over, and underneath, a child's laugh. Thomas smashed the device, but the voices stayed. In the rocks, in the trees, in the sky. The last thing anyone found was his car, the keys still in the ignition, and his pack, left like he'd be right back. Locals say when the wind's just right, you hear him. Thomas Baker pleading, screaming, "I'm sorry, Jamie. Please, answer me." And sometimes, just sometimes, a child answers. "Too late, Dad. Too late." Now no one dares speak loud in Echo Valley, because if you do, it doesn't just repeat your voice. It knows what you fear most, and it reminds you, forever. It was supposed to be a quiet weekend, a break from the suffocating routine of work, bills, and middle-aged regrets. We hadn't seen each other in years, and somehow, this trip was meant to remind us we were still the same reckless group of friends we used to be. 4 of us, me, Daniel, my best friend Tom, his wife Rachel, and Chris, the joker of the group, decided to rent a cabin near the mountains. A place none of us had ever been. Isolated, quiet, too quiet. The first night passed in a haze of cheap wine and fading memories. Old stories poured out easily, but the laughter, it felt forced. It hung in the air too long, almost waiting to be replaced by silence. And when the night deepened and the darkness outside became almost suffocating, none of us really wanted to admit how uneasy we felt. It was then the knock came, 3 hard, dry raps against the old wooden door. We all froze. The clock showed close to midnight. No one should have been out here. Tom stood first, glancing at us with a nervous smirk. Maybe the old man forgot something. The door creaked open, revealing the cabin owner, a thin, hollow-cheeked man with eyes like fading ink stains. "Evening," he croaked. "Just came by. Wondered if you folks were heading up past Echo Ridge." "Echo Ridge?" Chris blinked, his drunk smile faltering. "That sounds like a tourist spot." The man didn't smile. He just stared, voice brittle. "It's not. Ridge is a place that keeps things. Sound mostly, but some say it keeps more than that." Rachel scoffed lightly. "Keeps what?" "Ghost stories." But the unease was already creeping into her voice. The old man's eyes flicked toward her slowly. "You'll hear your voice there. Might not sound like you expect. Sometimes it comes back wrong." The room fell silent. No one laughed. He stared at us for a heartbeat longer, then turned and walked off into the dark without another word. We should have let it go. Any normal person would have. But something about the way he said it, the certainty in his voice, gnawed at us. An hour later, Chris broke the silence, rolling a half-empty beer bottle between his palms. "He's full of shit. Just trying to scare the city folk. I say we check it out. Prove it's all nonsense." Rachel shook her head, but there was hesitation. "We don't even know where it is." "He said Echo Ridge." Tom shrugged, trying to sound casual, but failing. "There's a trail behind the shed. I saw it earlier. Could be that." I should have said no. I almost did. But somewhere deep down, curiosity won. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe just stupidity. "Let's go," I heard myself say. Just for a minute. The trail felt wrong from the first step. The air was heavier here, thicker somehow. The trees leaned in too close, their branches skeletal in the moonlight. No sound but our own footsteps crunching dry leaves. "Anyone else feel that?" Rachel whispered, hugging her arms tight. "Like, the air's pressing down on us." Tom cleared his throat. "It's just the altitude or something." But he was wrong. We all knew it. After what felt like hours, we reached a clearing. The earth dropped off sharply, a natural amphitheater of stone and dirt. It felt like standing on the edge of the world. Chris grinned nervously. "Well, here we are. Echo Ridge, I guess." There was no wind, no sound, just a vast emptiness stretching in front of us. "All right," Chris shouted, forcing bravado. "Hello!" The word shot out, clean and strong, and vanished. No echo, no reply, just nothing. We waited. A long, cold minute. Rachel laughed tightly. "Guess that's it. Echo Ridge doesn't echo. Spooky." But I felt it, the prickle at the back of my neck, the way the air seemed to hold its breath. "Try again," I whispered. Tom took a step forward. "Hello? Anyone there?" And then it came. "Anyone? There?" But it wasn't Tom's voice. It wasn't even close. The words were slow, drawn out, wrong. They dragged through the air like something struggling to form human speech. Rachel gasped, stepping back. No, that wasn't him. Did you hear it?" "I heard it," I whispered, my throat dry. "That wasn't us." Chris let out a shaky laugh. "Echoes can be weird, right? Distortions, science stuff." But no one believed it. The air was wrong. The ground beneath us felt wrong. "Try something else," Tom muttered, his voice shaking. Chris, fool that he was, grinned wide. "All right, say something else, Ridge. Come on." Silence. And then, "Say something else." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Close, but distant. Familiar, but twisted. I could feel Rachel trembling beside me. "That's not funny," she whispered. "We need to go." But Chris wasn't done. "What are you?" he shouted. The reply took a moment, but it came. "What are you?" And then, laughter. A horrible, broken sound. Croaking, growling, like something ancient trying to remember how to laugh. It echoed through the ridge, bouncing off unseen walls until it felt like it was inside us. "Run!" Tom screamed, grabbing Rachel. We bolted, tearing down the trail, branches clawing at our clothes, hearts hammering in our chests. The laughter followed, louder, clearer. It didn't fade. It grew. I stumbled once, crashing hard onto my knees, but fear forced me up. Behind me, I heard Chris cursing, his breath ragged. "Don't stop!" I shouted, though my throat felt like it was bleeding. When we finally burst from the trees, the cabin looked like salvation. We slammed the door shut, locking it. Like wood and metal could protect us from whatever that was. For a long time, no one spoke, no one moved. The only sound was our ragged breathing and the faint creaking of the old house. And then Chris laughed, a high, broken sound. "It was just sound," he muttered. "Just sound." But none of us believed it. Rachel's face was pale, her hands shaking uncontrollably. It knew what we said. It twisted it. Tom sat down hard, burying his face in his hands. "What the hell was that?" We didn't sleep. Not that night. Every sound made us flinch. Every creak felt like a whisper coming back to life. At dawn, Tom was already packing the car. "We're leaving," he muttered. No one argued. The drive back was silent. No music. no jokes, just the road and the sound of our own hearts pounding in our ears. But the thing is, it didn't leave us. Days later, back home, I still heard it. Sometimes, when the world went quiet, a whisper, low, almost like my own voice, but not quite, repeating words I never said, laughing. And the worst part, some nights I swear I hear it learning, getting clearer, closer, waiting. It was just after 8 when David Carter pulled his car into the narrow dirt road that led to the old quarry. The sky was darkening fast, the last streaks of orange sun swallowed by thick clouds that seemed unusually low that evening. He glanced at the GPS once more. It had rerouted him twice already, claiming this shortcut would save him 15 minutes. David should have known better. He hated these back roads, especially in unfamiliar towns. As the car's headlights swept across the looming trees, David felt a sudden chill. There was something unnervingly quiet about the place. No crickets, no rustling leaves, just silence, the kind that pressed against your eardrums. He rolled down the window slightly, trying to catch any sound, anything to break the eerie stillness. That's when he heard it. His own breathing, followed by something else. Something that shouldn't be there. A soft whisper, faint, repeating his own breath in perfect mimicry. A cold shiver ran down his spine. Probably just the wind, he muttered, and shook his head, forcing a nervous chuckle. But even as he said it, his own voice bounced back unnaturally, like the air was holding on to his words a second too long before releasing them back. Reluctantly, David pressed on, steering the car forward until the path narrowed so much he had no choice but to stop. Dense trees surrounded him now, and the GPS signal flickered out entirely. The air felt heavier, almost damp, and every sound he made came back to him with a strange delay. It wasn't a normal echo. It sounded wrong, distorted, as if someone or something was repeating him, not the landscape. "I need to turn around," David grumbled, reaching for the gear shift, but just as he did, he heard it again, clear as day. A whisper, his own voice, but this time it said something else. "You can't leave." His hands froze, heart thudding in his chest. He whipped his head around, scanning the tree line. Nothing, absolutely nothing but darkness staring back. "Hello?" he called out, instantly regretting it. The word traveled out, then returned, warped. "Hello?" It dragged out unnaturally long, almost playful. David felt his throat tighten. "This is insane," he whispered, but even that came back with a sickening delay. And then laughter, low, echoing, from nowhere, from everywhere. Panic clawed at him as he grabbed his phone, desperate to call anyone. No service. Of course. He banged his fist against the steering wheel, chest tightening with every second. "Get a grip," he told himself. But even that damn whisper returned. "Get a grip, grip, grip." David's pulse hammered in his ears. He glanced out the windshield, and that's when he saw it. A shadow, tall, thin, right there between two trees, not moving, just watching. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, but it was gone. "No, no, no," he whispered, trying to steady his breath. He turned the ignition. Nothing. The engine coughed and died. Come on," he growled, trying again. Dead. That was when he noticed the air had gone colder. Frost began creeping along the windshield edges as if winter itself had set in. And then came the whisper again, this time from the back seat. "You shouldn't have come." David spun around so fast he nearly broke his neck. The back seat was empty. Of course it was. But the weight of the words hung in the air. He fumbled with the door handle, spilling out into the night, breath clouding in front of him. "If this is some sick prank, it's not funny," he shouted into the woods. His voice came back moments later, laughing with his tone, his breath, his own damn voice. But there was something else layered beneath it. Another voice, deeper, older. And it wasn't laughing, it was whispering something David couldn't quite make out. Trembling, he stumbled away from the car, flashlight in hand, sweeping the beam wildly. The quarry had to be close. If he could just find it. Maybe there was someone working late. Anyone. But the trees closed in tighter, the dirt turning damp and soft beneath his shoes, like the earth itself was trying to swallow him. Finally, the woods opened up to a clearing. David skidded to a stop, breathless, staring out at the gaping mouth of the abandoned quarry. The ground dipped steeply, cliffs jagged and sharp, and down below, darkness pooled like ink. He strained his ears. There, again, his voice, repeating everything he'd said since he'd arrived. Words jumbled together in a chaotic, breathy chorus. Then, clear as crystal, a woman's voice echoed up from the depths. "Jump!" David gasped, backing away. "Who's there?" His flashlight flicked wildly, shaking in his grasp. No one, just the void staring back. He turned to run, but the trees weren't where he'd left them. The clearing had shifted. The woods loomed closer, thicker. A trap. He could feel it. And then came the voice again. Softer this time. "It's the only way out." David stood frozen, torn between reason and the primal urge to run. His mind screamed that none of this made sense. People don't hear voices in echoes. Shadows don't shift. Roads don't disappear. Yet, there it was. That pull. That nagging feeling growing in his chest like claws wrapping around his heart. He forced his legs to move, backing up slowly until his heel caught the edge of the quarry. Pebbles skittered down into the abyss, vanishing in the black. No sound. Not even an echo this time. He turned fast, desperate to retrace his steps, but every direction looked wrong. The path had vanished. Only trees. Endless, suffocating trees. David's breath quickened, hands shaking uncontrollably. "Please, someone help me," he croaked. But there was no reply. No birds. No wind. Just the sound of his own pleading, mocked by the void. "Help me. Me. Me," the echoes repeated. And then, all at once, everything went silent. That was when he heard it. Breathing. Not his own. Slow, steady. Right behind him. Every hair on his body stood on end as he turned. Slow, agonizing, expecting the worst. But there was no one. Only the black mouth of the quarry yawned wide behind him. Suddenly, a cold hand gripped his shoulder. David screamed, wrenching free, stumbling forward until he collapsed to his knees. "What do you want from me?" he cried out. No answer. Only a single word whispered in the air. "Stay." His body trembled, heart pounding so loud it hurt. He knew, somehow, he wasn't leaving this place. Not whole, not the same, maybe not at all. Morning light never came, at least not for David. Days later, locals found his car abandoned, the driver's side door wide open. No sign of struggle, no footprints leading away. Just the car, and the faint sound of whispering if you stood real still. They say the quarry was cursed, a place where sound itself gets trapped. Voices of those who came too close, doomed to echo forever in the hollow. And sometimes, if the wind is just right, you can still hear a man's desperate pleas, fading, repeating, until there's nothing left but silence.